Well, hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I'm really excited, as you can tell, to talk about something that's going to be of interest to me on Let's Talk About It Tuesday. And of course, I hope that because you're here, it will be of interest to you too. So, what I want to talk about today is not totally a continuation of the discussion that we've been having on the work, but it kind of also is because I wanted to just zone in on one of those terms that I've been using, and I don't know how people feel about it if they don't understand. Like, I never liked when we as a community, and I'm saying that about Christian people, will use jargon. I think that's a pretty cool word that doesn't really um, hold meaning to people very well. And even sometimes we'll use it without it really making a big connection with of meaning for our own selves and experience. So I think it's really important to we can use these words and we can make sure we understand where they're coming from and what they mean, not just to us and our experience, but that we can make a connection to those things as we learn what they were intended to mean. So, yeah, it's called like let scripture interpret scripture, so that we're not taking things out of the scripture and putting our own interpretations, own spin on it. We want it to mean what it was originally intended to. Yeah. So, one of the words that I was thinking about, it's kind of been rolling around in my mind, is calling, because we kind of throw that around, and maybe we don't really understand what it means. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't want to come across like I really understand or know fully what my calling is, or that I've heard it like this big booming voice from heaven say, I'm calling you to do this, because that might be a little bit confusing. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened that way for people in history and even throughout time who are following God, but it doesn't always happen that way. And so the way that I was using it was more associated with when we're trying to figure out the idea and the biblical, did I call it, doctrine of work. So let me read. I went to Got Questions because I like that site a lot. It answers a lot of questions really well, I think. And I actually just looked it up in the internet, and they compiled what the internet, Google, found Got Questions articles to generally be saying about that term, calling. It says, according to GodQuestions.org, God's calling is a central theme in the Bible that's a metaphor for a life of faith. It's a summons from God to use one's gifts in the world, whether that's through paid employment, volunteer activities, or in the home. God's calling is eternal and encompasses all aspects of life, not just what one does to make a living. It's about who one is and what they're meant to do in the world. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, so that's why I'm really excited to talk about it on today's Let's Talk About It Tuesday. And I would love it, as usual, if you have some input on this discussion.